Now this situation, interestingly, can be summed up in an ancient biblical story. In Numbers 11, we find the minority report of the story of God giving the people manna and quail to eat in the wilderness after they've been liberated from Egypt. But in this version, in Numbers 11, there's an interesting twist. It describes how the people begin compulsively over-consuming the gift of God, the gift that God has given them. So God's anger is kindled, and the people die of a plague of addictive inability to set limits on their consumption. And this trauma inspires a place name to these old storytellers. It's called Kibroth Hatava. It's really fun to say it with me. Kibroth Hatava. I'm thinking there's got to be a song there somewhere. Which translated simply means the graves of greed. Or what we might call today affluenza. If ever there were an old wise tale that speaks to our condition, as Quakers put it, I believe this is it. Because from our beginning as a nation, we have taken fateful turns toward the graves of greed. From being a continental empire relentlessly exploiting people and nature, then we became an international empire, and as a result, we have become rich and powerful. In the process, we have way overconsumed the gift of God, and we are beginning to experience the graves of greed. The first to die of this plague, of course, were indigenous people here and abroad, whose lands and resources were stolen to feed our insatiable appetite. But now it has caught up to all of us. We now consume more than the earth can bear. The 2004 Living Planet report indicates that the global population's actual use of bioproductive hectares was 13.5 billion, or 2.2 per person. That's more than a 20% overshoot of what is actually here on the planet. So we are rapidly liquidating natural capital. We crossed that point in 1986 by those who are studying this data. Ever since 1986, we've been in what they call an overshoot position in terms of our ecological footprint. And of course, that is increasing over time. Another way to put it is each year we deepen our debt crisis. Any of you heard of Earth Overshoot Day? Happened just a few weeks ago. This year it was September 25th. Beyond that day, we move into the ecological equivalent of deficit spending. In other words, the Earth has resources to support everybody on the planet up until September 25th. After that, we're deep in debt. And of course, we're doing that every year. Globally, we now require the equivalent of 1.4 planets to support our lifestyles. We are in an end game, the end of which are the graves of greed. Now, again, I know that most of you don't have to be persuaded of this, but you do have to be able to teach this and to proclaim this. So we can't, any of us, sort of sniff around this bone too much. I think the best single source for trying to wrap our hearts and minds around this crisis came out last year by James Spate, who was a long-time mainstream environmental policy leader who last year published what I think is the most straightforward account of where we are right now. And this is sort of what he says in summary. How serious is the threat? Here's one measure. All we have to do to destroy the planet's climate and biota and leave a ruined world to our children and grandchildren is keep doing exactly what we're doing. That's with no growth to the population, no growth to the world economy. Just continue to release greenhouse gases at the current rates, continue to impoverish ecosystems, release toxic chemicals. The world in the latter part of this century will not be fit to live in. But of course, he says human activities are not holding at current levels. They're accelerating dramatically. It took all history to build the $7 trillion world economy of 1950. Today, economic activity grows by that amount every decade. At current rates of growth, the world economy will double in size in 14 years, which means we're going to need 2.8 planets. We are thus facing the possibility of an enormous increase in environmental deterioration, just when we need to move strongly in the opposite direction. And then he goes on to start cataloging start cataloging. And you know, it's a litany, and you've heard it in different versions. Half the world's tropical and temperate forests are gone. Half of the wetlands, a third of the mangroves gone. Estimated 90% of the large predator fish gone. 75% of our marine fisheries fished out. The planet, he says, has not seen such a spasm of species extinction in 65 million years. Now, if you don't read books, and I've heard rumor that some of y'all don't read books all that much anymore. I'm sure it's just a nasty rumor. But I know also you're much more media savvy than our generation. The place I would recommend to go is this film. It's available online. It was made by a French earth photographer, Jan Arthus Bertrand. It's his film called Home, and he spent 5 years of his life and raised millions of dollars to make this film and then put it up for free on the web. How many of you have seen this film on the web? Wow, just a few of you. Okay, well, that makes it all the more worthwhile. I want to show either one clip or a couple of clips, depending on how our technology holds up. If you prefer to get the bad news through film, this is probably the most trenchant source I can recommend. And so let's roll this for a couple of minutes, and maybe we can bring these lights down a little bit in front. This is from this online